ingoa ko o te koramato whakatū. Nā mai haere mai. Welcome to this meeting of Nelson City Council on Thursday, the 23rd of September. Today, I'd like us to start with karakia that we all know, and I'll ask that you rise for tuia. Tuia ke ora, tuia ke raro, tuia ke roto, tuia ke waho, tuia te hera tangata, ka rongo te pō, ka rongo te ao, ame, ue, tai kie. Kia ora. Welcome to you all. We're in our level 2 configuration, which means I feel like we need almost several more to be able to talk to each other. So you're a long way away. So please just be, if I miss you, and you try to signal to me that you need to speak. And probably the best thing to do is if you can just, I might just need you today just to put your hand up a little bit for me rather than just eye contact, because I just may miss you. Apologies. It is just with my glasses, it's not quite the best zone. So welcome to today's meeting. We are in level 2, so we've got the room spaced out with the appropriate distances between us. Today we will have people coming for public forum via Zoom, and so they've all been given the Zoom link, and the governance advisors, thank you very much for the work you've done to help our public forum attendees with the process. And if we have any problems with the technology, we'll just take a very brief adjournment so that we can contact people. Now that may be for staff coming in as well, and we also have some guests that are going to be in here today, so are coming in via Zoom today to speak to reports. I haven't received any apologies for today. Does anyone need to head away at any point for other meetings? No, we're all good. Okay, thank you. What we will be doing, Councillor Noonan.
I'm okay until the time that was allotted. After that, I will revisit.
I think we'll be well and truly finished by the end of the agenda. The order of business today is going to be. Order of business today will be. I'll run through that in a moment. Just in terms of the room, if you're getting up to, just ask if we could have all devices on silent. And if you're getting up to move around, just make sure you put your mask on to go to the tea and coffee. And what I'd suggest you do is that we just kind of get up as we need to during the meeting. I'll also be taking fairly regular breaks because I'm conscious that we have people on Zoom who are going to be participating in the meeting. And as our Zoom protocol for meetings, we took fairly regular breaks. So we'll be having little micro breaks today just to make sure that we look after everyone's well-being. Now, the order of business today is going to be slightly different to the agenda because we had to coordinate with people who are coming in to speak to reports. So I'm going to take the Three Waters report at 1 p.m. So that'll dictate when we have our lunch break. So we'll go for lunch about 12, and then 1 p.m. we'll be starting the Three Waters report. And then the Uniquely Nelson item I've got at 3 p.m, but it may be earlier than that if we're moving through the agenda nice and quickly, but that's what we've organised, and I think there's flexibility for that 3 p.m, so if we have to go earlier we can do that. I think that's all that I need to tell you about the order of business. Any interests that I need to be aware of today? Any update on interest register? No. Any interests in relation to the items? No. Okay, thank you. In that case, we're going to start our public forum process, and I think our first speaker for public forum today is Mr. Steve Cross, and we'll just see if he is able to join us. Let's give him a moment. Morena, Steve. Just check that you can hear me and we can hear you. Just need you to unmute, I think.
Yep, you're ready for me to start?
I am. Just before you do, Steve, so we can follow the process in the room and on Zoom. The governance advisors will do the bell as normal, but you won't be able to hear it at 3 minutes and 5 minutes. So I'll just let you know. So I'll try not to interrupt your flow, but I'll just let you know when it's 3 and then when we're at 5. So just whenever you're ready to start. And you've got some slides, I think, that you have shared.
Yeah, so are those slides up?
we've got this, these slides loaded, they're just coming, so I'll just give you a moment. All right, they're up now, so whenever you're ready.
Okay, so if we go the first slide. And I accept that there's changes needed for a lot of reasons. You're running monopolies and they need to be regulated. We know what happens with monopolies if they're not. The whole water thing's too politicised within councils, and that was demonstrated with the travesty, which is the Lee Valley Dam. But I also saw that it was a bit of a shock to me when I found out how politicised water decisions are, when I saw the drought security report, that disgraceful report. And so I want to see, I accept the need for change, and I accept the need for an independent regulator and water regulation. So the proposed model is not the solution, and the purported savings are fantastical and have been comprehensively discredited. And Castalia was one of those who said that the savings are implausible. But also, I want to pick up on Resolution 3, which talks about Morrison Lowe's advice on the accuracy of the information. The Morrison Lowe report is far from an endorsement of the Wicks work, and in fact, they very pointedly reference Bristol Water and South Staffordshire Water, which are entities which are going to be very much the same size as Entity C, but with a lot tighter population density, and they only achieved efficiencies of 25 and 20%. So that was very pointedly made by Morrison Lowe, and that's a dense populated, not something which has got Cook Strait in the middle of it. And as I say to people, it'd be real easy to get 20% savings in the UK. You just stop your staff going to the pub for lunch. Farrier Swear also stated it is out of scope for us to go further to say that the range of estimate benefits produced by that analysis is likely to be reasonable or not. So, there's no one that's saying, oh, we really believe in all this WIC stuff. But going further, the geographical split's all about tribal politics, nothing to do with regional efficiencies. Scale of economy doesn't exist in a country as geographically separated as New Zealand. How do we get economies across the Cook Strait? We'll become an irrelevancy, out of sight, out of mind, get cut out of the deal stream. The deals will be done on Lambton Quay and Wellington. We get loss of direct control, local identity, loss of local responsiveness. The proposed governance is absurd, a board to appoint a board that will appoint a board, and but lots of jobs for political hacks. So next slide. Sorry, yeah. I propose that there's a far better alternative, and it's been in existence for a long time, and I don't know why this model wasn't considered and given real thought, and that is when I was at university, pre-computer days, we were taught about the similarities between water and electricity, and in fact, we could model water networks using electrical circuits. So there's a lot of analogies, and in New Zealand here we have 29 network companies. I think that's too many still, but they do work really well. They've been highly regulated. You hear very, very few causes of complaint from them. They mostly maintain their assets. There's a few exceptions, I'll talk about that, but they never seem to have any problems funding expansion. They're going to cope with the increased electrification. They seem to just be getting on and doing it. They have good local presence, good local responsiveness, adapted to local conditions and customer needs. And one thing about it is they cooperate amongst each other really, really well. So if there's a disaster in one area, linesmen come in from others. They are very well coordinated and work together. They've got great industry associations. It's a brilliant model. And, the assets still stay with the local trust. So next slide.
Steve, we're now past the 3 minutes, so we're going to have to speed this up a bit, if you wouldn't mind. I'll give you a few more minutes because you've put a lot of work into this presentation.
Okay.
I can't be doing this for 10 minutes.
No, well, I'll use some of Neville's time since he's not going to be there. But when we look at the costs, and this is a measure of efficiency, And you can see here that there's no efficiency from size. So right at the far right is Vector. Now I can tell you a bit about Vector. It's got big corporate offices, pays huge salaries, but riven with internal politics. No one likes working there. Really hard to do business with. It's got all those nasty things that you see about corporates. And then at the bottom end, we've got some really efficient little local based network companies. And I've worked with a lot of these. They leave their corporate egos at the door when they go to work. They just get on with the job. Pardon the pun, but they're well grounded. They're down to earth people. And so the figures there show that they can work at the frontiers of efficiency. These are regulated companies. They've got to provide a level of service, and they are getting those efficiencies. The outliers, there are good reasons for that. One of them is Otago, and Otago, you may remember, had its funds raided by its directors. Dunedin City Council wants to pay for Forsyth Bar Stadium. All the customers in Otago are paying $500 a year more. They got special dispensation from the Commerce Commission to charge that. The rest of them are very remote, sparsely populated areas with and also prone to high storm damage or whatever. Ashburton and South Canterbury have a preponderance of dairy farms, huge dairy farms with big irrigation load, and that pushes up the average. So they're not a representative view. Next slide. The OPEX, when you look at OPEX, and you can cut and dice this anyway, and I'm the first person to say when you use these ratios, there's always things that can, argue one way or another, but there's no sign here that any of the larger entities achieve operating cost savings and operating better. And again, you see a preponderance of smaller ones that can operate really efficiently. Next one. Same with CapEx, and I would argue that these small companies can achieve better CapEx savings than the big ones because actually they work well with local contractors, they fit in, they have local solutions, they actually work to fit the needs of that region, not take some broad thing. So they adapt to the circumstances, they know the area, they're, again, I see some very efficient electricity network companies who do things incredibly well. Next slide.
Steve, we're now at 7 minutes, so we might just have to whip through these last slides as quickly as we can. So
real quick. So I've made some statistics here about Auckland Super City. So I accept that they did the united, so there was a whole lot of fragmentation. That's one benefit. But look at the stats. They're just outrageous, and you can read that in your own time. Next one. But where are the efficiencies? Water care, another failure. Look at. Yeah. Next one. I talk about if there was ever an industry where the scale of the economy should come into effect, it's a milk collection and processing business. And Fonterra has massive factories, mega factories at Te Rapa, Hawera, Edendale. And look, here's a little minnow, Tatua. Look at it. They just trounce them all the time. And again, I can tell you the reasons, but it's all about that whole corporate bullshit that goes on. Next slide. And these are just final observations. But today, acquiescence is acceptance, and you do need to decide where you stand on this. You can't kick the can down the road. Anyway, that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. We've got a question from Councillor McGurk.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good. Hey, thanks. Always enjoy hearing from you. Just a couple of ones with those line company. I think that Powerco is similar to what Entity C would be, is they've got, I think, they're based around the Bay of Plenty and the Waikato, and also Taranaki, Manawatu, and the Wairarapa. Does that impact on your thinking at all?
No, not at all. Powerco is another one which it's on the bigger end of the scale on that on those graphs, but there's nothing that shows that it's any more efficient or what than the smaller ones. I have worked with PowerCo. It's not as corporate as Vector is, but it's got a lot of that culture in it. It's not quite, it's quite a, Vector's lumbering. I'd say PowerCo is a little less on the scale, but it's it's not up there with the 800,000 customers we're talking about with Entity C.
Mm. Yeah, and just a subsequent question, you talked about the issues down south in Otago. I understand that there's electricity, Invercargill, the Central Otago Services, and there's one other down there that are amalgamated. Do you know what the background of that is?
I can't tell you that in all detail. I mean, it's a few years since I was close to it, and there may have been some amalgamations I'm not aware of, but I think more likely is that they cooperate very closely together. They share contractors. A lot of them retain their identity, and even here, Nelson Electricity has still got some semblance of identity. So but there is a lot of intercooperation. They get benefits by cooperating with each other a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks so much.
Yep,
Steve,
cool.
thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate the work that you put into these and the information that you provide to us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. All right, we'll just do the changeover now. So that was Mr. Steve Cross for Public Forum. We now have Mr. Tony Hatton, who is going to speak to the private plan change matter. And we'll just see if we can get Tony joined in. Tony's there. Morena, Tony, I'll just check that you can hear me and we can hear you. If you'd just like to unmute, and then we'll just check the sound's working okay. Morena.
I am on.
You are. Can you hear me okay, Tony?
Yes, I can. Yes, thank you.
Oh, and we can hear you fine. So just before you start, you won't be able to hear the bells. So we normally do, we do 5-minute slots. So the bell goes at 3 and 5. So I'll just let you know when we've got to 3, just so you can pace yourself for the time slot.
Sounds a bit like the chase. Thank you.
Well, I hope you do well at the chase. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Right. Good morning. The Maitahi scheme for Kaka Valley, a proposal dreamt up by commercial interest eyeing what they took to be low-hanging fruit, facilitated by planners stuck in the groove of build more houses, never mind where. Private plan change request 28 relies on the 2019 future development strategy. Regardless of what councillors have been told about the adequacy of the preparation of that strategy, I can absolutely, positively tell you this Kaka subdivision plan landed on many, many people as a stunning betrayal by council. The plan change request document looks to me like an exercise in box ticking. The staff report before you describes it as a coarse filter. It's better described as a miscarriage of moral justice. It's designed to meet the formal requirements in the quickest, easiest way possible. The applicants are saying, this is sort of what we have in mind, and please rezone it right away without any fuss and bother, because it'll be all right. If this plan change goes ahead, every subsequent resource consent application needed will proceed without public input. That's right, no notified applications. Where do the sewer and water main go? Beside Denny's hole? Through the middle of Denny's hole? Where does the pumping station go? Beside Denny's? Where does the overflow go when the pump fails? Into Denny's? Where is all the stormwater runoff to go? Into Denny's. Where is decades worth of construction silt going to go? Into Denny's. They've told Ralphine Way residents they will quarry all their hard fill on site. Yep, quarry. They say the valley's topography won't allow the new roads to conform to the national road construction standards. Many roads in Nelson don't, they say. So a few more substandard roads, no worries. No one mentions 2 more sets of traffic lights, except in an obscure council document. Oh, and a new bridge. They say they'll protect a couple of Kānuka patches and a kahikatea tree. There's no mention of the 100-plus-year-old pukatea and adjacent mature titoki trees right in the middle of a proposed development zone. A publicity photo shows an attractive duck pond and planting. The pond will be empty half the year because Kaka Stream goes underground, not far from Maitahi's top boundary. So there'll be no lilies or ducks, it'll be cracked mud and willow weed. Hemi Toya has asked you for 350 houses in his proposed Maitahi village. The title his consortium owns occupies about a quarter of Kaka Valley. The rest is owned by Bayview Nelson Limited. Maybe that's where the rest of the 750 houses are going. Rezoning Kaka Valley for 300 houses is the thin end of a wedge. The Maitahi is too important to Nelson for you councillors, you, no one else, you councillors right now to just dump this proposal into the Resource Management Act chasm. The petition signatories, now more than 12,300, I think it's 365, whom you have managed to ignore for so long, deserve the chance for input without being dragged into expensive formalities that are beyond the capacity of most people. Accept this plan change request and you'll be opening Pandora's box and there will be no way back and no happy ending for the Maitahi. Think Green Meadows. That seemed quite straightforward for a while, didn't it? Any one of you councillors can legitimately move a motion to reject this private plan change request or part of it on the grounds of unsustainability and or insufficient information. And I beg you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Any questions for Tony? Councillor Courtney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Tony, for your presentation. Where are you? Up there. Excellent. Tony, we're very interested in urban design and good urban design. And sort of thing I'm looking at in respect to that is transport, which in my world is part of it. What do you anticipate the number of cars would be frequenting that new development there in Kaka Valley if there were 350 houses built?
Well, I can't personally put a figure on it. I just know there'll be far more than there are at present, and quite enough to stuff the ambience of Branford Park.
Thank you. How have your communications with the developers gone? Have you've had good dialogue with them? You've discussed many aspects of their proposal?
We have, yeah, we have. They claim that we've refused to meet them, but that in fact is a lie. We have met them. Things haven't gone smoothly. There's opposite poles.
I'll just finish by saying, Madam Mayor, that's a shame, Tony, because you are going to be neighbours, or you may be going to be neighbours. I would not prejudge this. You are going to be neighbours, and I'm pleased to hear that you have had dialogue. That's important, I think.
Thank you, Tony, very much for joining us today. That worked well. We could hear you very well, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Susan McGascal, who is speaking about the request for a private plan change. And we'll just welcome Susan. Morena, Susan. I just want to check first you can hear me, and then we'll get you to unmute and I'll make sure I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
And perfect our end as well. Susan, we've allocated 5 minutes for your presentation this morning, and if I can, I don't want to interrupt your flow. Do you think you've timed things for about 5 minutes? Is that going to work for you?
Yes, yep, I've timed it so it's just under 5 minutes.
Oh, fabulous. All right, well, whenever you're ready, you can get started.
Okay, thank you. Kia ora and good morning to the council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm here to enter a plea for you to reject the proposed change to the Kaka Valley area and leave it rural. I am flummoxed as to why the council would allow a development of this nature in the rural Maitahi area that is clearly at odds with what many of the citizens of Nelson City want. The council does have the option to reject the proposed change, and I urge the council to reject it. According to the Nelson City Council website, Nelson received $3.7 million to implement Project Maitahi. The Project Maitahi vision statement is the Maori or life force of the Maitahi is restored, ki uta, ki tai, so that native plants and wildlife can thrive within a functioning and connected ecosystem, and people and communities are inspired to nurture and value the Maitahi as a taonga for past, present, and future generations. I believe the rural nature of the Maitahi Valley is the taonga. I will say that again as it is very important. The rural nature of the Maitahi Valley is the taonga. The area that many people use and connect with is the stretch of swimming holes that includes Black Hole, Denny's Hole, and Sunday Hole. This part of the river is extremely special to Nelson people. The stretch of the river is widely used and therefore extremely cherished. It was valuable for past generations and it should be available for future generations to value. I don't think we Nelsonians need encouragement to value that area. However, I do feel that the Nelson City Council needs encouragement to value that area. If the Kaka Valley development and the further development at Orchard Flat goes ahead, the rural nature of this area will be gone. The river will be changed and probably not be swimmable in the future. Sediment from the earthworks in the development and then runoff, broken sewage pipes, people washing their cars, and general life of 2,000 or more people will negatively affect the water quality. This development would not be following the mission statement of the Project Maitahi, which is to nurture and value the river. I wonder if you ever swim in these places in the summer. Have you ever seen the teenage boys egging each other to go up the tree and jump from the highest point? Have you seen the young adults who string a slack line across Black Hole and try to make it across without falling in? Have you seen the group of boys from Myanmar sitting on the banks of Sunday Hole drinking a beer and adjusting to their new country? These and many other people are creating wonderful memories for their lives and experiencing joy in a rural area right next to Nelson City. All of these people are appreciating the river. They are valuing the river as a treasure. Very few cities in New Zealand have a swimmable river so close to their city. We must protect this amazing rural asset. We must appreciate this river. The Maitahi vision statement is an amazing statement and thinks about future generations. However, if the council accepts the proposed changes and rezones the Kaka Valley area to allow development, then the council is not valuing the Maitahi as a taonga. I urge the council as my representatives and the representatives of all those who use those swimming holes to reject the proposed changes to Kaka Valley so Nelsonians can continue to appreciate and adore the rural attractiveness of the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. We've got a question from Councillor Sensen.
Kia ora, Susan. Councillor Rachel Sensen here.
Hi.
Hi, thanks very much for that. I really appreciate your really eloquent presentation. My son is one of those that climbs the tree or eggs himself, eggs he and his friends along. I just want to know what your thoughts are on whether the Kaka Valley plan change should be considered in the broader context of the whole of the Maitahi Valley environs and its maybe the impacts of the proposed subdivision, whether there's merit in those being considered as part of, I guess, the broader context of the whole area and downstream effects.
Yes, of course, I think it should be the whole Maitahi area should be considered because we're going to get traffic effects from that, and also downstream we'll have the noise, we'll have pollution, and I'm also worried about biocorridor. Apparently there's remnants of trees on Kaka Mountain, and so yes, I think that the whole area should be considered, but I am extremely worried about Denny's Hole and Black Hole.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation and thank you for being available. That's we've heard you really well and thank you for answering.
Great. Kia ora. Thank you.
Kia ora, Susan. We'll continue with public forum and the next public forum is Neville Mail, Nelson Citizens Alliance on the Three Waters paper. Okay, so what I've been advised is that Mr. Mail is not there at the moment. The governance advisors have tried several times and I can see that you've also made contact with Mr. Mail to confirm speaking and sent up the Zoom link and other things. So I'm not clear if there's any other information. I understand that the Chief Executive had some papers.
Yes, Madam Mayor. While I was out of the chamber, I was presented with a petition, and if I could just read the covering letter, I promised I would do that. This petition, containing 1,828 signatures, demands that Nelson City Council makes no commitment to transfer the city's water assets valued at $685 million without the consent of ratepayers, and also demands that the opportunity for full consultation with ratepayers is immediately provided, including the calling of submissions without further delay. So
thank you. I'll receive that petition.
Pass that across.
Thank you. That's fine. Thank you very much. That petition has been received. Do you have a question about the process, Councillor Skinner?
A question about the petition and process. I know, and you know, he's very keen to present. I know you would have tried your hardest to make it possible, but is he not able to be at a room or somewhere to present? I know that he's keen to jump on Zoom and maybe he's not connected himself technologically at home.
Councillor Skinner, all of the decisions around health and safety in this building are the responsibility of the Chief Executive. I had asked whether we could have people in person today and he's worked with our health and safety team and made the decision on that matter. He's communicated that through to all elected members and
that needs to be balanced.
I'm sorry, I'm still speaking, Councillor Skinner. And he has communicated that through to Mr. Mail previously. I understand Mr. Mail has joined by Zoom on other occasions. That's correct. So he has. I think
is he struggling to join at the moment? Is that what the problem is?
We'll come back to it. So if he is having a problem at the moment,
I'd appreciate that because I know there's a balance between your health and safety and an ability for the public to feel heard and have a reasonable ability to present.
Yes, and we've the Chief Executive has considered that balance and made a decision to actually balance out those opportunities around health and safety, which is why public forum all public forum people have been given the opportunity to join us by Zoom and have the normal times. But we obviously technology sometimes doesn't work on the day, and so the governance advisors will make sure they keep in contact with them. And if he hears later on, then we'll get him in. Thank you. So next up we have. Oh, we do. It's not on, for some reason it's not. Oh, that's right, because it's coming later. That's right. We've got Monica Messina who's going to join us on Zoom, and Monica is speaking to the private plan change. Let's see if we can see Monica. I believe that is the last one. Yes, Councillor Noonan.
It's Monica Messina, did you say?
Porcina.
Porcina.
Porcina. Morena, Monica. I just check that you can hear me okay, and I can hear you. So before we get started.
Yep, good as gold.
Oh, that's
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So welcome.
Wonderful.
Welcome to the meeting. We've allocated, I think, 5 minutes for today. Is it 5 minutes for your speaking time? You won't be able to hear the bells at 3 and 5. So do you think your presentation's around 5 minutes?
It is, I've timed it.
All right, well, I won't interrupt you, so otherwise it sort of affects the flow. So just whenever you're ready.
Wonderful, thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa. Good morning, Madam Mayor, councillors and members of the public. As you know, the issue of the potential rezoning from rural to residential of a vast area of 300 hectares in the Maitahi Valley is of enormous public interest. This is because it would allow the building of a huge subdivision right beside the most popular and most loved part of the Maitahi Valley. The proposed subdivision would adjoin Branford Park and Denny Swimming Hole and be directly opposite the Maitahi Cricket Ground and close to Sunday Hole and Black Hole. If the rezoning goes through, a huge and highly visible subdivision would go into Nelson's peaceful, beautiful river valley. The stakes are incredibly high. The proposed subdivision would change the valley forever. It's vital that the council gets that decision today right, because it only gets one chance. There are 3 reasons why you should not accept this PPCR today. One of these reasons is that the request does not meet the criteria of sound resource management. Tony Hatton has explained the grounds for rejection with regards to that. And the second reason is the criteria of insufficient information provided, and it is a strong case. An independent planning consultancy, Sweetman Planning Services, was contracted to assess the initial plan change request. As you know, Sweetman listed areas where more information was required, and the developers were given plenty of time to supply that information. However, the developers did not comply with Sweetman's request to provide further information on 3 key issues. And those issues are, firstly, the impact of the proposed subdivision on the visual amenity landscape. In other words, how a subdivision would affect the currently high visual appeal of the Maitahi Valley, which is the very reason why so many people enjoy recreation there. The second was the impact of the proposed subdivision on the biodiversity corridor. Sweetman cited the recent Nelson City Council report that identified Kaka Valley as part of a, quote, significant 8-kilometre long corridor between the Nelson City and Haira areas for native birds and other wildlife. And thirdly, the impact of the increase in traffic on air pollution. In particular, Sweetman noted that there had been no airshed modelling done to study and predict how air quality would be affected in the valley. The developers tried to justify not providing all the further information requested by saying that the issues would be addressed in the design phases or the resource consent process. And it is not difficult to work out why. They are trying to delay providing that information because they know that the information will show that the visual amenity landscape, the biodiversity corridor, and air pollution will be significantly affected. If that wasn't the case, they would have provided the information. They know that delaying is a smart tactic to use because once an application for rezoning is formally accepted by a council and the RMA process begins, it is infinitely much harder to stop. What harm can possibly be done by holding the developers to account and insisting they provide the information that Sweetman requested, and requested at this stage, the most critical stage in terms of this information. But I ask you, what great harm might be done by not? The third reason all along is that the Maitahi has been so contentious. Because of the lack of public consultation. And that's why, the Maitahi subdivision is highly contentious because the public have not had the chance to have their say on an issue that deeply affects them. And this is why the story is being covered by both local and national papers and radio. This lack of consultation has placed enormous pressure on you as our elected representatives, because you are caught between a drive by some in council to push the subdivision ahead and between the pleas of the community who feel betrayed and distressed at not being told of the council's intentions and who are determined to protect the Maitahi Valley. I ask you to not accept the request today in order for a fair, transparent, and democratic process around the Maitahi to take place. The only fair, transparent, and democratic way for this application to be considered is in the context of the new future development strategy, with its much stronger requirements for public consultation. Let the people of Nelson actually have their say on this matter. You received yesterday a letter from the RMA lawyer Sally Jett, which states that the old future development strategy was deeply flawed in its public consultation, so much so that only 4 people submitted on the proposed rezoning and subdivision. 4 people in the whole of Nelson. She strongly states that the future development strategy done in 2019 did not provide for engagement of the community and therefore clearly did not comply with the Local Government Act 2002. She also points out that both the developers in their request and the council in their report to you recommending that you accept the request today places significant reliance on that flawed future development strategy 2019. You are the elected representatives of the people of Nelson who trust you to hold vested interests like developers to account. The Maitahi is the jewel in Nelson's crown, treasured by people of all ages for generations. As far back as 1915, the council has formally recognised that and been acting to protect the valley on behalf of the people of Nelson. We, the people today, are asking you such a simple thing: to honour the trust put in you by us. The developers have chosen not to comply with the direct request for more information, which the independent planning consultant expert considers to be both key and necessary at this critical stage in the process, not later. You absolutely have grounds to reject the application today on the criteria of insufficient information and insist that the developers supply.
Monica, sorry to interrupt. You're well over 5 now. Is there much more to go?
There is literally 3 sentences.
Oh, fabulous. And then we've got a question for Councillor Laurie.
Sure. Yep. You are absolutely able to reject the application today on the criteria of insufficient information and insist that the developers supply the key information that Sweetman's has identified. By doing this, you create the opportunity for the public to be meaningfully consulted, not late in the process when it is very difficult to stop, but now when it can be. Surely the people of this city, of all ages who love the Maitahi, who swim in its river, walk and cycle along its banks, and picnic under its trees, like their parents and grandparents before them, deserve that. And surely the future generations of this city yet to be born deserve that too. It's in your hands, and it's in your hands today.
Thank you, Monica. I've got a question from Councillor Laurie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Monica. Fabulous presentation. Couple of quick questions, or a few quick questions. Did you know about the 2019 future development strategy that a lot of this plan change request is based on? Did you know about it when it was happening?
Absolutely not, because at no point in that future development strategy is the area called Maitahi. The word Maitahi does not appear, only the words Kaka Valley. And it's safe to say that 99% of Nelson had no idea where Kaka Valley was. And that's why the public was so in the dark and feel so betrayed and so distressed.
So if you had known, would you have submitted?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's safe to say that a vast number of Nelsonians would have submitted. This is an issue very dear to the hearts of the people of the city.
Very quickly through the chair, how many people have signed the petition now?
12,500.
How many of those people do you think would have submitted to the 2019 FDS?
Literally thousands. The support from the community to protect this valley is overwhelming.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you giving your time to come and speak to the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Kia ora. Now, just check to see whether we have anyone else appeared for public forum. No, we haven't. So Mr. Mail has not joined us today, but we have received his papers. So we've done that. All right, we're just coming up to 10 to 10. As I said, I'm going to take short breaks on the hour. So we'll take at 10 o'clock, we're going to take a 5-minute break. What I think we'll do now is we'll just get a few of the boring bits done. So let's do the minutes. Let's move on to the minutes. You've got minutes of the Councillor Eager question on process?
Oh, no, minutes.
Oh, question on the minutes. So we'll just start with the 12th of August. The minutes are on pages 15 through 35 of your agenda. Question from Councillor Eager.
Just noting on all three is I'm not classified as present at any of those meetings. You can clearly see in all of them that I have at least moved or seconded a resolution in every single one of them, but my name does not exist in the present. I don't know what made me look at the present, but perhaps we could look at some other ones and see if I exist on council. That would be lovely. Thank you.
So just clarify, you were there, you weren't there? You were there?
I was there. I mean, it's in the record that I've moved and seconded things in all three of those meetings. So I was there at all of them. All right. And if we could also just check some others just in case.
All right. So the other thing we need to... All right, lovely. And the other thing we need to do is just on, I think it's on the 12th of August one. So we're talking about Here Lane. We just need to remove the, on page 25, the word unanimous needs to be removed as well. So it needs to happen. Councillor Courtney.
I just wanted to endorse and say how much I enjoyed the Deputy Mayor's contribution at that meeting. It was immensely informative.
It always is.
And quite profound, actually.
Yes. Like every meeting the Deputy Mayor attends. Oh, someone care to move with those amendments? Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Thank you, Councillor Eager. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to the 26th of August minutes, and they are on pages 36 through 41. Any corrections to those minutes? Same thing again. All right, with that amendment, I'll move the minutes, seconded by Councillor Eager. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to the minutes of the 2nd of September, pages 42 through 52 of the agenda. Any corrections? Same one. Right, thank you. Thank you. Councillor McGurk is moving. Councillor Bywater, would you like to second that? Thank you. No questions or debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. All right, that's the minutes. And now we have the request for the private plan change item. And I'm going to just take a quick 5-minute adjournment and we'll start that at 10 o'clock. All right, so a quick 5-minute adjournment that just allow everybody to get organised on Zoom too. Thank you. Okay, I think we're ready to go again. Thank you, Robin. Kia ora tātou, just resuming the meeting. Welcome back, and we are now moving on to the item which is item 6 on your agenda. That is the request for a private plan change for Maitahi Bayview, and it's on pages 53 of 62 of your agenda. And I just see who is the officer that's going to speak to this report. I think we've got everybody on Zoom. So we've got John Musson joining us, who is here on behalf of the applicants. He's here to speak to the private plan change request. We have Kerry Anderson, who is from DLA Piper, Council's legal team, Gina Sweetman from Sweetman Planning Group, and Claire Barton are also here to answer questions. And I understand Kerry may have a presentation to give as well. So what I'll do in the first instance, Claire, is I'll hand across to you, and then you can introduce the speakers in the correct order. Morena.
Morena, thank you, Madam Mayor. So the order of business for the presentation is that Mr. Marson and Mr. Toa will do a presentation first, separately, and then Ms. Anderson will present some legal points in terms of process. I will raise some matters in terms of the resource management matters, and Ms. Sweetman will also address some matters, and then we're open for questions. So I will hand it over now to Mr. Marson.
Thank you, Claire. Morena, John, welcome to our meeting. Whenever you're ready, if I'll get you to unmute, and then you're good to go.
Thank you. Do you have that PowerPoint presentation up?
It's just going up now. Yes, it is up. Hopefully you can see it as well on Zoom.
I can, thank you.
Great.
Well, tēnā koutou katoa. My name is John Marson, and I'm proud to represent the Maitahi Bayview Plan Change 28 Consortium. Just by way of introduction, I have 30 years experience in resource management and local government law. And I'm very familiar with the Maitahi Valley because I assisted the Nelson City Council in the reconsenting of the water permits to operate the council's water supply infrastructure on the Maitahi and Roding rivers. I'm going to briefly address you on some legal aspects of your decision and state why I submit the plan change process needs to commence following the Schedule 1 pathway in the Resource Management Act. Following me, Hemi Toia of Ngāti Koata will address you briefly on the aspirations of Mana Whenua and the other plan change partners for community engagement through the structured planning process. So if we move to the next slide. What I wanted to do, first of all, was to orientate the councillors and mayor as to the type of decision you're making today. And I've described it as a gateway decision. And by that, I mean that you're making a decision to open or close the door to a statutory process. You're not making a decision about the plan change or the outcome. And so when it says, will you accept the plan change? It's a kind of funny terminology, but really what it means is that you accept it to pass through the gateway to then follow a statutory process, which is very open, transparent, and allows for full debate on the merits of the plan change, tested by evidence and evaluative assessment. Because it's a gateway decision, preventing someone exercising a right to modify the council's plan, there is a right of appeal that the proponents of the plan change uniquely have if you refuse the application. And my suggestion is that because the council is a local authority managing a high housing need, If you refuse to accept the application, then the council's ability to perform its legal duties under the National Policy Statement on Urban Development Capacity and to act responsively to plan changes that enhance supply of residential land will be under intense scrutiny by the Environment Court. The next slide, please. I want to just set the scene in terms of why the statutory provenance of this plan change, because previous speakers seem to think that it's the strategy of the council for future urban development, which is the major legal impetus for this plan change, which is quite wrong. The council has a statutory responsibility to provide its citizens under Policy 1 of the National Policy Statement on Urban Development Capacity, a well-functioning urban environment. And that term, as defined, means meeting the needs in terms of type, price and location of different households, and to enable Māori to express their customs, traditions and norms. The plan change proponents, based on their expert opinion, consider that the plan change is part of the strategic planning solution for Nelson to address the self-evident dysfunction in Nelson's urban fabric. And that dysfunction is revealed by an affordability and supply crisis for the many people wishing to form households and live close to and have the benefits of the city. So if Nelson decided to change its future development strategy, that would be of no consequence to the applicants, who still rely on higher order instruments issued by the Minister for the Environment as the raison d'etre for this plan change. Next slide, please. Briefly, this plan change has been conceived with an eye to the resources and the needs of the community through great design. It obviously provides an opportunity to provide households close to the CBD and to house tangata whenua next to ancestral land. It has an opportunity to protect open space for some key landscape features of Nelson. It sets aside for future generations significant areas as regenerating Indigenous vegetation. It adds to the council's portfolio of open space tracks and cycleways as part of the recreation strategy of the council. And it provides an opportunity for transport connectivity, including alternative road access to Nelson to improve public safety and thereby enhance regional hazard resilience. Next slide, please. Plan Change 28 did not fall out of the sky. For example, in the 1980s, the council controlled the forming of the road called Ralphine Way opposite the Waihi Takara Reserve, which leads to the site. It was formed and presumably the oversizing paid for by the community, so the road could perform not just as a small cul-de-sac, but as a connector in the network as wide as Maitahi Valley Road. So people were thinking about this locality for development for a very long time. Next slide, please. But I want to emphasize that I'm not here to debate the merits of the plan change, and you've heard a lot of debate about it. What is up for consideration is whether there is any statutory basis to declare Plan Change 28 unworthy of public consideration and examination using the statutory process. To refuse the application, the council has to establish on rational grounds that one of a few and narrow statutory criteria is met. For example, the plan change is frivolous. In other words, it has no serious purpose. And my submission to you is that the advice that you have from the council's officers and the consultants is very clear and correct. This is a straightforward regulatory decision, not a democratic decision. You are not sitting in a democracy capacity. You are exercising a statutory function. And you must give reasons, and these must be sent to the proponents under Schedule 1, Clause 23, Subclause 5. Of course, if you accept the officer's report, then those reports become, by adoption, your reasons. But if you act against the officers' and consultants' advice, then you as the council must, according to the statute, provide full reasons for doing so. And that will, of course, be part of the business of this meeting for the council to debate, formulate, and record them. These reasons can't be given by anybody else, and they provide the platform for consideration on an appeal. In making your decision, you have to have particular regard to Mr. Lyle's evaluation report that forms part of the plan change. And you cannot have regard to any material outside the application. Contrary to the way in which this meeting is being conducted, this is not the time or opportunity for opponents of the plan change to be heard on the plan change. The law is very strict on that. Next slide, please. The proponents of the plan change do not claim at this early stage that Plan Change 28 is already a perfect plan for the Kaka Valley and environs. But they do claim it is a good plan. It is well conceived and is the product of a team's efforts using mostly local and some national experts. It is well founded on a combination of land resource use, management and protection and riparian enhancement. It is informed by and achieves, according to mana whenua, Mātauranga Māori, and therefore achieves the umbrella freshwater concept of Te Mana o Te Wai. The proponents will engage in the Schedule 1 process with an open mind and a willingness to consider constructive suggestions for the refinement of the plan change from people of goodwill who are able and willing to debate the issues according to law using evidence-based analysis. Next slide, please. So my invitation on behalf of the consortium this morning is to let the intelligent korero begin. Allowing that korero is the most appropriate and reasonable use of your mandate as representatives of the community to ensure that these difficult societal debates are considered according to the law and evidence. Ngā mihi, and thank you for your time.
Ngā mihi nui. John, thank you very much for the presentation. And I think we're now handing across to Hime Toia. Tēnā koe, Hime. Welcome to our meeting today.
Tēnā koe, Madam Mayor. It's lovely to be here. Well, ngā tamari e kia koutou katoa, e ngā rangatira o te hui nei, e mihi ana. I think it's fair to say that our private plan change request has created some extraordinary attention. Sadly, some have turned this into a political football where individuals, local politicians or representatives, local business people, and local iwi are easily kicked, often with non-factual emotive claims. Ngāti Koata trustees, kaumātua and directors have been subject to personal approaches, even in the privacy of their own homes. So I can only imagine what you as elected representatives of Nelson City may be subject to. Democracy is not a license to harass, threaten, or attack people. It is both disappointing and unacceptable when people who serve the community, be that in local government or on iwi boards, face so much pressure that their personal well-being is impacted. We are sorry if that has happened to you. I truly hope that you are able today to rise above this terrible behaviour of a few, commit to following due process, and have the courage to make an informed decision. I would like to re-emphasise that our private plan change is about housing, much needed housing for Nelson and its families. The greatest taonga is people. It is also about our environment, protecting it for future generations. Ngāti Koata is a key partner in Project Maitahi. And our private plan change is also about choice. This is not about inner city development versus greenfield development. People need housing. People need choices, be that inner city living and or urban rural living. So we support a housing solution that enables choice. Our private plan change will enable a vision that includes more houses, 300 to 350 new homes in the Kaka Valley, the Maitahi community, and circa 400 homes in the Bayview development. It will also include more recreational opportunities on previously private land. It will also include environmental enhancements and exemplary sustainable design. This vision is nicely conveyed in this video recorded on site last week and at a very sunny 10 a.m. in the morning. Thank you. Let's watch the video, please. Opportunities on previously private land. It will also include environmental enhancements and exemplary sustainable design. This vision is nicely conveyed in this video recorded on site last week and at a very sunny 10 a.m. in the morning. Thank you. Let's watch the video, please. Opportunities on previously private land. It will also include environmental enhancements and exemplary sustainable design. This vision is nicely conveyed in this video recorded on site last week and at a very sunny 10 a.m. in the morning. Thank you. Let's watch the video, please. Opportunities on previously private land.
As far as the construction business is concerned, my father started that business. I'm very proud of what Dad did and the legacy he left behind, and I feel as though I owe it to him to build on that, and I've got a reputation to uphold.
We're just going to take a brief adjournment to sort the technology out if we can.
To do it.
Hemi, we've got some technical problems at our end, so we're just going to see if we can sort those out. So we'll just take a brief adjournment.
Thank you very much.
I owe it to him to build on that, and I've got a reputation to uphold.
We're just going to take a brief adjournment to sort the technology out if we can.
To do it.
Hemi, we've got some technical problems at our end, so we're just going to see if we can sort those out. So we'll just take a brief adjournment.
Thank you very much.
I owe it to him to build on that, and I've got a reputation to uphold.
We're just going to take a brief adjournment to sort the technology out if we can.
To do it.
Hemi, we've got some technical problems at our end, so we're just going to see if we can sort those out. So we'll just take a brief adjournment.
Thank you very much.
I owe it to him to build on